What's good, everyone? This is Mikerotastraphy here, and today I want to give you guys an alt guide video for Squirrel Girl and Marvel Rivals. I did say that in my advanced guide for her about a month ago that I wanted to do a guide specifically on how to use her alt properly in certain situations and also certain maps, simply because of how unpredictable her alt can be. It's very difficult to kind of like cast your alt and then expect great value right off the gate. So I wanted to give you a separate guide video on how you can properly use her alt the right way in certain team fights to get the best value so that you can add severe pressure to the enemy team and actually help win team fights in your favor. So without further ado, let's get started. So in the meantime, I just kind of have like this gameplay video play in the background. But the thing about Squirrel Girl and her ultimate is it's very linear base. Before she got buffed in season 1, season 0, when you casted her ult, it only went one direction, but when it bounced, it only bounced based off the angle the last route it was positioned before it bounced off the wall. That's what created that unpredictable factor, and that's why I said in my advanced guide video that her ultimate is such a great way to create unpredictable chaos. In regards to Scarlet Witch, she just creates pure chaos. But when she got buffed in season 1, they actually buffed her ultimate to where whenever it bounced off a wall, it would then angle itself to target the closest enemy it sees, and then it will traject its direction towards that. Actually makes her ultimate 10 times better. It's still unpredictable, but 10 times better because if there are a lot of enemies within a certain radius of Tippy Toe and her squirrels, it will continuously bounce itself to hit as much enemies as possible until the duration ends. With that being said, with this alt guide video, I want to start off by saying that the best way to use Squirrel Girl's ultimate is if you can use your ultimate in closed off areas or like maps that has a bunch of walls in place, because it's so much easier for you to get your bounces in place. 2, the terrain has become your friend because there's no ledges nearby if there's a lot of walls in place. Therefore, if you are around maps that has hallways, tunnels, or if you're in like open-ended areas that has a bunch of buildings kind of close by, then you can safely cast your ult without the worry of it going off a cliff, and then you lose value that way. Plus, on top of that, if you cast your ultimate during team fights, there's going to be a good chance that at least 2 to 3 different enemy heroes are going to be clumped together. So when you do cast your ultimate in that closed off area, they're going to take a whole lot of damage in a short time frame. And because since they're all clumped together and Tippy Toe will traject itself to the nearest enemy once it bounces off a wall, you can easily get picks off that way. It makes her that much more deadlier in those type of team fights. And that's what I was talking about. Now, I want to quickly kind of give a quick note about her ultimate. Even in season 0, after she got her buff, her biggest adversary is still the terrain. And that is because the value of your ultimate is directly referenced based on where you cast your ultimate at on a map. And this what makes her very different from every other character in the game. Because if you think of like Iron Man, for example, the value of his ult is based on how many heroes he can hit with his ultimate, because it's pretty much like a one-shot deal. So if he can hit the whole team, well, then his value of his ultimate goes through the roof because you basically get a team wipe that way. The value of his ultimate also gets diminished if they have a Magneto or a Doctor Strange on the team, because they can block his altogether. So that could easily affect how well Iron Man's ultimate can be in certain team fights, but that doesn't make him a bad character because people can still gauge how good his ultimate is based on like how many people are in a certain area during a team fight. So it's very easy to gauge how good he can be. And he's still meta. Another good example would be Hela. Season 0, Hela was broken. She's banned in almost every game. In season 1, she's not banned as much, but she's still broken, even with the nerfs that they gave her. But her ultimate is really great because she thrives off of just holding certain choke points or checkpoints, because she just floats up in the air, becomes this big phantom thing, and she drops bombs on people. And that what gives her the best value. But just like Iron Man, her value gets diminished based off of what type of heroes counters her, which would be Doctor Strange or Magneto, that can both block her ultimate. Doctor Strange could do it better, but Magneto can still block her shots off when he casts his ultimate because she shoots projectiles, so he can absorb that with his ultimate and then direct it at her or at her teammates, or he can just protect his teammates if they're close by chucking his shield or bubble them. So that's how her value of her ultimate is basically referenced. But when we talk about Squirrel Girl, there's really no one that could counter her ult except for just if people actually try to target her squirrels, then yes, it can get shut down that way. But the biggest adversary for Squirrel Girl is really the terrain, because during chaotic team fights and when she casts her ultimate, it's not like everyone kind of stops what they're doing and target the squirrels. They still kind of like go after like the other team members during those team fights and try to like get picks off. And that kind of gives the squirrel tsunami an opportunity to kind of just run freely and do as much damage, probably get some picks off, and just cause as much chaos as possible. And I think so far, people don't treat her squirrels on the same caliber as Scarlet Witch. Because when Scarlet Witch casts her ult, you see like that big old red exclamation point. The whole world turns into that direction and they either try to take her down, CC her, or get away. Because everyone knows when her ult goes off, the time runs out, it's almost an instant team wipe if anyone's too close to her. But I think people are still underestimating Squirrel Girl with her ultimate, where when she casts her ult, you still see that giant red exclamation point, but not many people really pay attention too much because they're too busy trying to like pick off other heroes. And I think that's their underlying value that they can bring to the table. People are underestimating Tippy Toe and the Squirrel Tsunami. And that's why I say it's really not the heroes that affect Squirrel Girl's value, it's the terrain. So now that I kind of help establish a difference between her ultimate and other people's ultimate, I want to quickly talk about how to properly use her ultimate, and I'll use a couple maps as examples to kind of give you an idea of when would not be a good time. So the first map example we're going to use is the Spider Island 2099, and I'm going to use this example because it's still considered like an open map because there are ledges and cliffs nearby, but there's also buildings and a lot of walls nearby too. So it kind of gives you a clear example of like, hey, what are some like good opportunities to cast your ult and what are some opportunities to not. Right off the bat, if you're in this second part of the convoy map, whether you're attacking or defending, this would be a risky area to use because you have this open ledge here. So if you have like this team fight happening right here and you try to cast your ult, if someone is like right around there, there's going to be a good chance that the squirrels will follow them. They might get the hit, but they might also fall off the cliff. On the flip side, if you're fighting someone who's inside this building, because there's this med pack and then there's destructible buildings, this is a lot safer option because it's away from the ledge. There's a med pack, so this serves as like a honeypot for if you're dueling against someone and they're getting low on health. Well, their first train of thought, they're going to try to get health. So if you can catch them off guard, even if they pick up the med pack, they're still going to take a lot of damage, and there's a lot of walls around, so it's going to bounce, and you still get that kill, regardless if they get that med pack or not. So that'll be a good example of when to use the ultimate. On most ranked matches that I've seen, when people are coming in clutch to prevent or secure this first checkpoint, this area has been a very good hotspot for you to cast your ultimate as Squirrel Girl, simply because a lot of walls, it's inside a building, and more importantly, when the team fight happens here, it's usually because they're trying to fight to stop the payload from happening, or B, if you are defending, you are fighting to stop them, and they might be a little bit too cocky and try to stop you right there, so you can pop your ultimate in a closed off area, and you can get a lot of kills that way. Don't mind these guys. I just put two Jeffs duking it out. They're having fun. But another good example that I've actually have done many times on ranked matches and seen success with is when there is a team fight happening here. I get on top of this building, and then I could just pop my ult here, simply because these walls are very close by, and this is another hotspot, depending on how the team fight goes, that there's always a team fight happening right here. So I pop my ult, and then the squirrels, they just ricochet countless times between these walls, and because now that they track enemy movements, get a lot of damage, and you can easily get some picks if they're clumped together like that. Especially, again, if it's getting to clutch time, time is running out, they're going to get a little desperate, or they have to touch point. So that is the perfect opportunity for you to use your ultimate. All right. A third good spot you can use her ultimate is around here. I mean, obviously not from this angle. I'm just doing this just so that I can give you guys a bird's eye view of what this map layout will look like. But there's this ledge here. So if you're seeing a lot of the enemy heroes right there, that's not a good idea to cast your ultimate, because there's going to be a good chance that they'll just have the squirrels bounce off and then it'll just go flying off the map. Hold on real quick, I fell. All right, I'm back. So I would avoid using your ultimate when the enemy heroes are right there. But when they're right here, then it's a lot safer, simply because there's that little tunnelway, which sometimes they try to hide around the tower if it's not broken yet. So it's a good opportunity for you to use your ultimate, and the squirrels can have a good opportunity to track their movements. And then if there are any heroes inside that tower, if it's not broken, or if it is broken, then there's a lot of corners and edgeways that the squirrels could bounce off to, get picks that way. If you see a couple of heroes going inside that building over there, if you use your squirrel tsunami, it could easily track their movement and go inside that building, and then they're going to be trapped. Even though there's that med pack there, again, there's a lot of walls and enclosed areas, so you can easily get the pick off before they get the med pack, or you can follow up with a couple of primary shots and secure the kill that way. And around here as well, it's still relatively safe because, again, there's a lot of corridors, there's that med pack there. So a lot of times when people are low, especially if you're poking from afar and you see them getting low, they're going to try to get that med pack that's over at that area. So you can cast your Squirrel Tsunami, and then you can just secure that kill and catch them off guard. So hopefully, like with this map, you can start to get an idea of like which spots are really good. The team fight is happening where there are a lot of ledges involved. It's hard for you to get the maximum value for your ultimate because there's a good chance it's just gonna fall off the cliff. But if you are seeing a team fight happening around walls and enclosed areas, then that's the perfect opportunity for you to cast your ult. As long as like your teammates are alive and you're still people like applying pressure during the team fight. The next thing I want to quickly talk about in regards to her ultimate is I want to briefly go over the different ways you can cast her ultimate. Now, most YouTubers and pro players, when they cast her ultimate, they just do it from the ground, and that is okay. I mean, a lot of times during a team fight, if you're seeing the people lined up in a row, sometimes just chucking the squirrels in a linear direction, that works just fine. But there are many times in a team fight where either the team is being walled off by a Groot, blocked by Magneto with his shield, blocked by Doctor Strange and his shield. So when you cast your ultimate in a linear direction, there's a good chance that you won't get the greatest value because the shield or Groot's wall will deflect the squirrel's damage, and Groot's wall could just change the direction of the squirrels so it won't bounce to the enemy team. Or if it hits Doctor Strange's or Magneto's shield, and I guess Captain America's too, yeah, it'll go over them, but they won't take damage. So if you really want to get the best value for Squirrel Girl's ultimate, there are two ways you can use her ultimate. The most mainstream and standard way that people know that you can use her ultimate is just use it on the ground. And you're in the middle or the back line of your side of the team fight. And you just let the squirrels do all the running, and you just see how many picks you can get off that way while you're poking people from afar still. It's safe, but the value could easily be diminished, simply because when it comes to Squirrel Girl and her ultimate, it's a separate entity. And yes, the squirrels do travel faster than Squirrel Girl can move. It's still a time base. So when you're chucking your ultimate way back from your team's line of a team fight, you have to account of the amount of seconds it would take for them to traverse from the back of your line, get to the front of the line of the team fight, and then get to the back of the enemy's line before it could hit its first bounce. And by that time, probably like 4 or 5 seconds would gone by. So at best, you might only get like 2 or 3 different bounces, which is not much. It's not that many bounces because a lot of that time has been taken up of having your squirrels having to travel from way back of your line to get to the other side of the team. But it's safe. So that's what most YouTubers that I've seen, especially Bulger, and he made a meme video, but it still was a bad play where he just chucked a Squirrel Girl ult in the back of his line, tried to take out a Groot and a Namor, and by the time he sent it gave Groot enough time to use his ultimate, which then he got CC locked in, and then Namor casted his ult, and then they all died, and then Bulger wrote it off as, nope, that was not the play. I mean, whether he did it as a meme or if he was trying to prove a point, I immediately saw it as it was just a bad play because he used it at the wrong time. But it does prove a point though. He used it from a safe distance, but the value quickly got diminished because he was in the back of his line. Now, the other way you can use Squirrel Girl's ultimate, which is what I do, and I briefly mentioned this in my advanced guide video, is I use Squirrel Girl's ultimate when I'm in the air. And I basically do my combo is I do a jump followed by a tail bounce, which gets me high in the air, and then I cast my ultimate while I'm in the middle of the air. The reason why I do this is because in Marvel Rivals, if you haven't noticed, you actually pick up speed when you're falling down. And that's why like when you see a lot of like YouTube videos of like the Doctor Strange tech when he casts his portal and then while he's in the middle of the air and then after he sets up his portal, he falls down into the portal and then he just shoots like exponentially fast across the field, casts his ult, and then he like does a team-wide CC from way back in a random direction that people can't notice him. That's because of the falling trajectory speed. And it actually happens for like summon entities too, which in this case would be the Squirrel Tsunami. If you cast your ultimate in the air, then the squirrels are going to be falling down as soon as you cast it, so they're going to pick up speed. But also, they are naturally faster than Squirrel Girl, so they're going to be traveling faster inside the enemy line, or B, already got a bounce off by the time you touch the ground because the falling trajectory speed made them go faster and they're already naturally fast, so they're easily going to be able to be in the enemy line and they get a few bounces off, and then if you do your own follow-up primary fire, you can start getting picks off that way. It's not safer than the other method that I talk about, but the value is exponentially higher. So it's kind of like a high risk, high reward type of deal. Especially when if you ever see my gameplay, I always tend to cast my ultimate when I'm already like in the middle of the front line of a team fight. So I'm like in the same area where like both tanks are going at it. Or if I'm doing my own flanks and I'm already in the back of the enemy team line and then I cast my ultimate that way. Because if I cast my ultimate when I'm already so close to the enemy team, the time it takes for my squirrels to hit anybody is going to be so much shorter, which then gives me more time for the squirrels to run around, do a lot of more bounces, do a lot more damage, and then get a lot more picks. And that's how I get all my multi-kills. Time and time again. Like I've positioned myself to take those high risk maneuvers because I know the value is so much greater, especially when I know who to follow up the attacks for. Because if I'm using my ultimate and the squirrels hit a squishy, whether it's support or DPS character, they're already low. So then all I need to do is do like 1 or 2 more primary fires at them and then they're dead. And then by that time I get done with that first person, another time I follow up with the next kill. It's like a domino effect. You know how Winter Soldier, he gets his value from his ultimate by consistently executing enemies when they hit below that execution red bar. It's kind of like that, but then you're doing the follow-up because the Squirrel Tsunami is chipping away at their health, doing big damage, and then you just go for the kill, or your teammates can go for the kill, and you can just steamroll a team fight that way. But again, it's high risk, but so much high reward. So my recommendation is if you want to try that route, assess the team fight and know when they are not looking at you. Because a lot of times when I cast my ultimate, I do it when they're least expecting of me because their eyes is glued to like another DPS, or they're trying to go after my support, or they're just so busy with my tank. Then by the time I'm up in the air, I cast my ultimate. Well, then now they have 2 directions they have to focus. They either have to focus me in the air, and then take their eyes off of my teammates that's directly in front of them, or they keep their eyes on the teammates in front of them, and then my squirrels and me could just have free reigns to pick them off. And that's why I do my ultimate when I'm in the mirror, because I literally force their attention in a different direction instead of being straight ahead. And that's why, like, a lot of times I don't like to cast my ultimate when I'm on the ground and I'm like with my teammates directly in front of me, because the people are already looking at me. They're in my general direction. So it's hard for me to get the value that way, unless it's like I'm like really close to them and I just need to just proc it off to secure a kill, secure a point, whatever, then I'll just do that. But a lot of times I just cast my ultimate when after I use my tail bounce, I'm in the air. It gives me a better angle to see which wall I can try to traject it to, and then I just let the squirrels do all the work. So that's pretty much all I have today for her ult guide video. I hope that you guys could learn a thing or two about how to use Squirrel Girl's ultimate more effectively in your own gameplay, whether you're playing her in tournament matches, ranked, or even just quick play. I hope you get some value from this video. If you like the information that I provide, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you can have more notifications on more guide videos in the future for Squirrel Girl in the future seasons of Marvel Rivals. I will be consistently updating, guide videos as, new patches come out, new characters come out too. So then I'll also like give my own, tips on how to duel against the new characters that would come out when you are playing as Squirrel Girl. So definitely don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe so you can be notified when I do drop those videos in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is Mikerotastraphy, and I'll just end it by having a montage of all of my highlighted multi-kill greatest hits. Catch you guys later.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man! Never miss!
It's a squirrel double kill! That's 3!
One another. This is real firepower!
He's stuck in their trap! Double kill! A touch of healing. Or a dagger. That's 3! Unpredictability!
Non hésitez ça.
Tippy Toe spotted bad guy. There they are!
Venom killable, Venom. Okay, I'm target.
Behind Venom.
Venom run away.
Oh, Thor can't get to you.
Coming back.
I think Venom dies.
Push.
Scarlet Witch is behind us.
Scarlet behind us.
That's it! Don't let it... You'll have to keep fighting until you have winner. What touch of kill! That's 3! Wow, 4 in a row!
I didn't think you had it easy.